Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffy Kennedy, author of fantasy romance and romantic fantasy. I'm here with my first cup of coffee and with my special guest, J. Barton Mitchell.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
It's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
We're on location, a rare on location podcast at Iconic here in Santa Fe on Lena. We call it the Lena Iconic.
Mm-hmm.
You were a regular at Iconic, I understand.
I am. I usually go to the Lupe location.
Oh,
I like
okay.
this location a lot, but we'll meet here on Thursdays, occasionally also.
Writer Coffee.
Yep.
That they all know about Writer Coffee. I can talk about you. So,
Okay.
so we have to remember to look at the video and not at each other.
Okay, is that right?
Yeah,
Okay, very new for me. It makes sense though.
So you write as J. Barton Mitchell,
I do.
but we call you Jack.
Yes.
Everybody calls you Jack.
Yeah. Or Jay sometimes.
Jay,
Yes.
really?
Actually, in high school I went by Bart.
Really?
All through high school.
Oh,
Yeah,
see,
yeah.
now I'm learning things about you.
Yeah, I couldn't wait to get. I changed it the moment I got to college.
Oh.
Which, by the way, is the most used name for action heroes in movies.
Really? I didn't know that.
Jack Ryan, Jack Bauer, Jack Burton, Jack Reacher.
Jack and Beanstalk.
There you go. Yeah.
So I released a book just recently that the main character's name is Jack.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Only
awesome.
he's J-A-K.
Well, so it's the fantasy version.
It's the fantasy Jack.
Right.
So you write science fiction.
I do, yeah. Yeah. I started, so I went to film school, so I started in film. That was kind of where I had like my first success, and then transitioned to comic books from there, and then into fiction.
So you started in film.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
How
Well,
did-
it depends on how you say start. Like I've been writing since I was like 10, and so I did fiction forever and ever and ever. And that's always kind of what I thought I would do. And then I got to college, and I got more interested in the film side of things, and so that's where I had like the first bit of success.
So what did you do? Screenwriting or?
Yeah.
Okay. So any movies that we know of?
No,
No.
screenwriting is a very interesting profession where you can make a good amount of money and never have anything made or
I've heard
produced
that before,
or seen the light of day.
So tell people how that works, because a lot of people don't understand that.
How to what?
How do you
Sell
make money and like not have any movies made?
Oh, well, because it's like 90% of what gets bought doesn't get produced, especially if you're dealing with, any script of mine that would have been produced would have been like a bill to the studio for $150 million. Because I write, I like high concept, big stuff. And so to greenlight something like that it's a hard thing for an executive to do. So that's why you see like in movies, a lot of it is, safer bets, I think, like, existing properties and sequels and remakes, and because it's a lot of money going into them, so they feel a little safer about stuff like that. But then you can also make a lot of money like rewriting things that also never get made.
Right.
People who just specialize in
get
that.
called in to like do the next script rewrite
Yep.
and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's very stratified. There's guys who specialize. They'll be hired to work on one character's dialogue.
Wow.
That's all they do. And they make a lot of money.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a weird industry.
So when you were a baby writer in Hollywood and you sold your first screenplay and then realized that it was never going to become a movie, were you sad?
Yes. Yeah. I think back then, William Goldman was one of my favorite writers. Wrote like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and Princess Bride, and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Made the comment like he didn't think you could really be satisfied as a writer just doing screenwriting, because it'll never sort of be it'll never be your baby, like you said. Like it'll always be. I don't know. You're lucky, like 50% of it represents, and so I think that's like a lesson you have to learn as like a new writer. It's a tough one
To let go of it.
Yeah, and I think on the screenwriting side, you have to kind of have like some detachment that you don't. That's what I like about novels so much is that it's like you're writing this thing. In screenwriting, you're writing like a bluept for someone else to go make something.
Well, that's a really good analogy. I like that.
In fiction, obviously, you're writing the finished thing. It's a lot more rewarding.
So I know you did at least one novel because I have it. Have you done more?
I've done 4. I did a young adult trilogy called Conquered Earth, which was St. Martin's, and then I did The Razor, which was more straightforward.
I think that's the one I have.
Yeah.
Okay. But now you're doing this science fiction dramatic podcast.
Yes.
That's almost more like a radio show. I mean, I listened to that first episode that you sent, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's actually set in the same universe as my last novel, as the Razor. So it's called, the podcast is called Derelict. It's somewhat confusing because so the new season is called Fathom, which is a prequel to the first season, which we didn't finish because it was too. I was trying to fly actors in to do it, and it just became too expensive. I
mean, it sounds expensive.
It is, yeah. I mean, I really wanted everyone in the room, the actors in the room together, because that gives you, I think, like the best performance. They can play off each other, and that gets expensive quick, especially with 6, 7, 8, characters. So it just was cost prohibitive, and so when the pandemic hit, I was trying to think of something more affordable I could do podcast wise, and it occurred to me, well, why not just do a prequel to Derelict? And that's what we did, and the way we got
because everyone could be. Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. You were about to say,
the pandemic made it, remote everything was sort of the pandemic, So remote acting was also became a thing, and so we would record everyone over Zoom, and I could kind of direct over Zoom, but everyone was doing it in their own space, and so that eliminated a ton of the cost, and still lets us have the same high production values I think that we have. My goal is always for it to be like you're listening to the audio of a bit like a big movie, a big budget movie.
Yeah, it sounds like that, but it's kind of fun too because it reminds me of like the old radio shows. Mm-hmm. My dad used to listen to those, get them on like cassette tape, right? When I was a kid, and there'd be like the sound effects, and all that.
I think the narrative podcast space is really growing, but I feel like they all feel they need to have a conceit to justify it being audio.
Oh, interesting.
A lot of voiceover, or it's a fake investigative podcast or something. That they feel hesitant to just do a story. And to me, like you said, I like the old radio dramas. I like The Shadow, the Batman, Superman stuff.
Yeah.
You can do that, and the audience, we're so used to, we know the language, we know filmic language, we know what sounds mean what, and we just reading a book, if you visualize as you read, we're trained to visualize things, and so I don't think it's a problem. I think you can do, we do giant set pieces, we do big action sequences, we do things that they're actually very visual, and it's just audio, but I think the audience gets it. I think that because we're so used to seeing this stuff, we just sort of translate it.
Right, you hear the big creaking, clunking sound echoing through the water.
Right.
And all that. Yeah.
I remember when I was writing the script, and it was in writer's group, and
do we need to shift you because you've got sun in your eyes? Are you uncomfortable?
No, I'm okay.
Scoot closer. Okay.
There we go.
No, there we go.
Yeah. I was saying that I remember when I was writing the script for the first one and went to writer's group, there was a thing in there and it said something like the whole of the ship creaks. And the note I got was, well, you'll never be able to pull that off. That won't make any sense. I'm like, of course I can. Everyone, like anyone who's seen any submarine movie, knows that sound. The sound.
You're right. It does sound like that. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So you hear that sound, and you instantly translate. Oh, I know what that is. Even though I'm on a spaceship, I'm not on a submarine. It's sort of the same sort of thing and sound. And so that's an example. I think it's just we're so trained from youth consuming all the stuff that we've consumed to take a sound and know what it means. You don't need to have a character go, oh, the hull's creaking.
I'm always interested when I get the trivia on like how certain sound effects are created.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think I learned the one that in the Star Wars movies, the snow walkers, big tall walker
the
things.
AT-ATs.
Is it the AT-AT? No, the big robot things.
Yeah, AT-AT.
Is it?
Yeah,
with the big
all-terrain attack transport.
Oh. Why am I even arguing with him? So that the sound of their feet clomping was actually like from a big paper cutter. So,
okay.
Yeah, like a
Yeah. No, I saw a thing where they were doing the laser blast sound, and they like the cable that holds a power cable, like a power line up to the ground. They were hitting that with a hammer.
I'm glad you don't know what that's called, at least.
Yeah.
Guy line. It's a guy line.
A guy line. There you go. There it is. Yeah.
Oh,
See,
cool.
together.
Together.
We have a tremendous
All right.
amount of,
Yeah, there you go. So did you have any challenges creating sound effects? Or is there like the soundeffects.org where you can go and down?
Oh yeah.
Is there really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I was trying. I've done some of my own Foley stuff. The reality is, you don't kind of need to. There's really amazing places to. The place I go mainly, I guess I'll promote them, is called SoundSnap. And what's great about them is tremendous, giant library of anything you can possibly think of. But a lot of it is done by Hollywood audio designers. They have their own stuff on there, and then they'll also put like.
And then they can like sell their clips.
Yeah,
it's like Etsy for sound
right,
designers.
Exactly. Yeah. So all these guys doing their own thing, and then they'll also put.
And gals.
What's that?
And gals. Guys and gals.
Oh, there you go. Yes, guys and gals. Yes, true. Yes. Guys and gals can put their stuff up, and then they'll also put like the entire sound library for The Dark Knight.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So you can really get tons of like high level Hollywood type.
So you can like do research by watching The Dark Knight,
yes.
and then be like, oh, I want that sound.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if they have it.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting because you'll listen to it and you'll be like, I don't know what that sound was in the movie, but because so many times there's these little bitty half a second clips.
Right, things that you don't notice, or at least someone like me doesn't notice.
Right. I mean, it's just I've found like, and I've come to this. I've had to teach myself, but I take just these little bitty clips and you make a sequence out of them. So you add them and move them around, and you make like a 1 minute long thing of a ship exploding or something.
So you're really good at the editing side.
I found that I am. Yeah, it was surprising. Yeah. Yeah.
Why is that surprising?
Because I've never done it before.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's just sort of the way I write. Is like I just write until it doesn't read to me bad. Like I don't cringe anymore. I know, okay, I'm probably okay. So it's the same with the sound design. I'll just do it until, okay, I don't hate that.
I don't hate that.
That sounds all right.
That's actually a decent bar for most creative stuff, I think.
Yeah.
So tell us about the actual story. What happened? So you said that first you did Leviathan, and then you went back and you did, remind me of the name?
Other way around. Derelict. The idea of that was it was like...
which I'm sorry, I always have to think, I always want to do Derelict My Balls, from, yes.
Yeah. That's awesome. So that one was, it's about a group of scientists exploring a derelict ship that's found out in space, and they get hired to go investigate it. And that was the one that we had to, as I say, pause, because we're trying to build up money to continue that. Fathom is the prequel to it. And Fathom is all set at the bottom of the ocean, and in a base called Fathom, and it's been built around what appears to be a giant door.
We know it's a door.
Yeah.
That's my attempt at the voiceover.
Oh, from like that.
Right in the they're like, we know it's a door.
Huh?
Like, you think it's a door? No, we know it is.
I know the line you're thinking.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, the door is like millions of years old, and so this base has been around to try and figure it out and to try and open it, which may or may not be a good thing. And then,
but we know it's a bad thing. Come on, Jack. I mean, it's never a good thing.
It is sci-fi horror, so you do the math.
The only people who don't seem to know that it's a really terrible idea are the people actually in the character.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's interesting though because it starts after there's been a sabotage, like an attempt to blow up the base by one of the scientists because he thinks this isn't something we should be doing.
But everybody's like, oh no, he's just crazy. He just lost it.
Right. Yeah.
But what did he know that we don't know?
It's true. It's complications ensue.
Hijinks. Well, I guess hijinks is more what I write. You have complications.
You write hijinks?
I write hijinks.
I'm trying to get out of this.
Let's see here. What if we no? Here, come my way.
It's your way.
There we go. That's better. Yes, I usually do hijinks.
Okay.
But I don't do...
Hijinks to me sounds like Keystone Cops or something.
Oh, are you still...
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's just a joke that we have for like when you have to write a pitch for your agent or something like that. It's like, here is... your tortured hero and your tortured heroine, and here are all the reasons why they can't get together, and then they are forced together, and hijinks ensue.
I see. Gotcha. Yeah.
Here, we can scoot you even more this way. Get you
It's
more
like
in this way.
the sun moves quick
It does.
in Santa Fe.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. And people get to see more of our wonderful, iconic coffee shop.
You usually do this at your house?
Yes,
Okay.
Often out my Great Barber.
Okay.
It's a very popular location, or indoors in the winter.
Okay. Yes. That makes sense.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about Fathom. I always want to say Leviathan. Fathom.
Well, there was the Leviathan movie about it's underneath
The bottom of the ocean,
yeah.
which was actually not a wonderful movie.
I remember that. I don't know if you remember this, but there was like Hollywood location do things in bursts, and there was The Abyss, which is awesome, a masterpiece, and then Leviathan and Deep Star 6, all in the same, I believe, all in the same year. Underwater horror stuff.
The one I'm thinking of actually is the one that just came out recently with Kristen Stewart, The Deep. Is that what it's called?
I think it was called Underwater.
Underwater?
Am I wrong?
Well, no.
Anyway, I thought the movie was pretty good.
Did you? I thought.
You didn't?
Well.
Like that opening with the whole thing. I don't know. There's a lot of cool filmmaking and like what it turns out to be, kind of the Lovecraftian.
The Lovecraftian elements.
Maybe a little strange, but
I think. Yeah. I didn't.
Do you like Kristen Stewart?
I do.
Okay.
I think she's awesome. I think she's gotten a rough rap, with sort of people deciding that they hated Twilight and thus they hated Kristen Stewart.
Yeah,
all of that. So when you cast for a podcast, how do you decide? Is it just like for casting for a movie? I mean, how do you know who has a good voice?
You have to audition. You have to audition and read. I was really lucky that my lead actress was Elizabeth Laidlaw, who's I think an incredible actress and super talented, has a great pedigree in television, like Chicago PD and other things.
Oh, okay.
I had just met her as a result of doing Derelict, which was the first season. She, I don't know, we came to meet each other just over social media through that, and then became good friends. And then I really just wanted to work with her, and so I mentioned I was going to do Fathom. I almost called it Leviathan. I mentioned I was going to do Fathom, and she said, I would love to do that. I was like, yes, I would love that too, but I can't afford you. and she said, well, I'll do it. She would do it for the scale rate, which was incredibly generous of her. And,
so can you tell us what that is? I mean, or can you
the amount?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious. Like, what is scale rate?
Well, so we are.
Is that like a public knowledge thing? I don't want you to reveal anything proprietary.
I guess it is. I guess you can go to the SAG website and see. So, Screen Actors Guild has several different categories of projects, and whichever one you fall into is the pricing scheme and rules that you have to adhere to,
depending on how fancy you are and all of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're doing a feature film, that's a different category than if you're doing a web series versus what we are, which is a podcast, and that's considered new media.
New media.
Yeah. So it's much smaller. It's like $150 a session.
Oh, well, that's
yeah. So on the it's which I think. I don't know, it's almost like $30 an hour in 8 days, but yeah. So that's the rate. That's the minimum rate, which is like it's tough being an actor. It's tough being a new media actor.
So are you funding all of this out of your own pocket?
Most of it. We do have one investor, which has helped a lot. But yeah, it's like 50-50, and then we're also on Patreon, so we're trying to get patrons to help.
You'll have to give me the link for that.
I will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do people get if they're a patron?
Oh well, at this point,
make your pitch.
Yeah. You get a nice little sticker of the cover.
Ooh, a sticker.
And then later levels are like there's a poster, which is pretty cool. I would like to have myself actually. And then like a social media shout out. You also get early access to the episodes.
Nice.
When they come out, which is sort of the perk, I guess.
And they're still coming out. They're ongoing.
Oh yeah. So 3 is about to come out.
Okay.
I think the season will be 8 episodes long.
And anyone can listen to that first episode, right? The link that you gave me that
yeah. Well, the link should go to the podcast in general. So they're totally free. Yeah, it's on iTunes, but it's on Google Podcasts.
Oh, okay.
It's on Spotify. It's on,
if somebody doesn't want to have to shell out, they could listen to the whole thing for free.
Oh yeah, it's totally free. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So then, how do you make your money back?
Well, if you get enough listeners, then you can start getting advertising and sponsorships.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, I mean, honestly, the real goal is to try and sell it to like a Netflix or like an Amazon as a live action thing, which a lot of the narrative podcasts are being purchased.
Are they? Okay.
For that Girl in Space. What's the Homecoming with Julia Roberts, I think is the name of the show on Amazon.
I saw parts of that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a narrative podcast. It started as a narrative podcast.
Interesting.
Yeah, so,
I didn't know that.
yeah. So it's a cool, it's a cool space, and it just lets you do like. I mean, if I did this as a Netflix show, it'd be tens of millions of dollars to do this thing, But I can.
Then
do it.
you would be buying us coffee every week.
Right,
Although
exactly.
actually, you bought me the latte today.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. You got me last time.
Oh, okay.
But in the audio format, I can do it in my basement.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is being done in my basement.
And I was going to ask you before, do we want to talk about your basement? Like
know,
you have a whole
it's
sound
yeah.
studio in your basement?
Yes. Yeah.
But not in a creepy troll-like way.
No, it's not like it's not the Red Room or anything.
Well, some people find that sexy.
Right,
That's
true.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you before, like, if I wanted to buy a sound effect clip, how much? I mean, I'm sure it depends on like the sound engineer and everything, but how
Like
much
from
would that?
SoundSnap?
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. They're usually around like $1.50.
Wow, really?
But again, they're these very small,
right, that you
1.5
then have
second.
to.
So to do a whole sequence, it takes some 20, 30 sometimes.
Okay.
But they have cool pricing plans where you can just like. I have one where it's just like I pay so much a month and it's unlimited, whatever.
So it's like deposit photos, but for sound.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And then music's a big deal. I think like music's very important to me. And I get most of the music from a place called Music Bed, which I think is really awesome. Next level composers on it.
Oh.
And those aren't all that expensive. I mean, like $150 for a music track, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Oh, all right. Well, so your said episode 3 is about to come out.
Correct.
Do you know how many episodes there are? You're probably a completist. You probably like me. You wrote the whole thing before you started.
No, I wish, because as it turns out, you need to have stuff written in order to record it. So
really?
Yeah. So it would be it would be nice if having the whole everything written. No, we will be. So 3's about to come out. We'll do 4. That, and I'll probably take a mid-season break because that's a big moment at 4, and then
midpoint.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll go, and then I think it'll be 8 episodes. So we'll take a little break. I can catch up. I already have 5 recorded, which is kind of cool.
Do you know how it ends?
I do know how it ends.
See, I never know how anything ends.
And it is, like I said, it's a prequel to Derelict, so. Okay,
so it's a little bit of a cheat because
sort of. I mean, again, there's only 1 episode of Derelict at the moment, so you don't totally know what's going on there. But it does connect in a very direct way.
So then, once you finish Fathom, your 8th episode, and you get to come this
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Then you're going to go back to Derelict, and
that's the hope. Yeah, I mean, that's a more expensive production, obviously.
Why is that?
Just because I want to keep. I mean, I guess I could do it the way we did Fathom, which is to record remotely, which would make it possible. But I don't know. We had such a great experience doing that first episode with all the actors here.
I could see really that. But there's a certain gestalt that kicks in when you have everybody in the same room.
Oh yeah. It's like they're so good. Like the Fat Backers are so good that I don't think you notice it, but there's definitely a nuance and an energy. To them just being able to play off each other in the same room. So ideally, that's what I would like to do with Derelict. It's just we'll just have to see how much funding we get through Patreon, and then keep building a listener base to get advertising. And so that's not something I can do with my own money.
Yeah, I understand that. Even though you have a day job, right?
I do. Yeah, I'm a software engineer with IBM.
Yeah, so and work from home already, right?
I do, yeah.
In your basement.
Exactly. Yeah. Lots of stuff goes on.
I was going to say, I might have to see this basement sometime. Yeah. All right, well, so all of you, here's your opportunity to support the the podcast as it is coming out. You can get in on the ground level. I'll put the Patreon link in the show notes and some of the other links as well. And you can check out Fathom as it's coming out right now. And very great to have you here, Jack.
Yes, likewise. This was awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. See, it wasn't so bad.
No.
Yeah, he was
painless.
I mean, he was like procrastinating. He's like, oh, I don't know.
I'm not good on the screen.
But he was great, wasn't he? Yeah, he was great. All right. Well, I will remind you all that First Cup of Coffee is part of the Frolic Media Podcast Network, and you will find more podcasts you love at frolic.media/podcasts. Thank you so much for being here, Jack.
Thank you. It was awesome.
Thanks. You all take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.